The biggest UFC card of 2024 is around the corner, and it is not UFC 308. It is UFC Vegas 100. Yes, the UFC are hitting their monumental milestone and hosting 100 events at the Hollow Grounds of the Apex. And in honor of that, we're going to be doing a card builder to make the most amazing yet somewhat mid card for a great card. It's going to be a great card, but it's not going to be the best of cards. I said it twice just to reinstate it. And for this card, we're going to be taking some inspiration, a hella ton of inspiration from UFC 300, as this was the UFC's gold standard, judging by, them choosing a gold banner as the poster of the card. This was the gold standard for what a good card is. And I'm going to be kind of copy and pasting it, but on a budget version, on an Apex budget version, And to start off the card, the UFC already made this fight, but we're going to bring it down to the prelim, or I guess the card opener, actually. Miles Johns versus Cody Garbrandt. Garbrandt already familiar with opening a card as he did with Figueiredo, and a lot of people, been saying that Miles Johns, hits like Figueiredo and fucking looks like him. So it makes all the sense in the world to put them as the early prelim opener for such an illustrious card. Even though Cody Garbrandt is a former world champion, only guys like Lad Dumont or Jack Hermanson and Sean Strickland, Marvin Vittori, Brendan Allen, those guys can headline, the cards. Cody Garbrandt, you're staying on the prelims. You're staying on the prelims, and you're opening up this absolute barn burner of a card with Miles Johns. Now, King Green. He was Bobby Green for UFC 300. King Green against Patty. He dislocated his arm. I think that shit's healed up now. He already took on one lightweight legend. Who's another lightweight legend looking for one last fight? That's Clay Guida. I know him and Jordan Levitt have been going back and forth, but King Green is already used to fighting these older guys, and by fighting these older guys, I just mean he just fought Jim Miller on 300, and it makes all the sense in the world. I say Clay Guida is just a tad bit of a cheaper version of Jim Miller. They both have some decent wins on their resume, blah, blah, blah. It makes all the sense in the world. Just book it, run it, and let them have fun. Those two old heads. Now, Mullins versus Rendon, I couldn't do much with it. I mean, I can't take it off the card myself. The UFC they graciously put it on this card to give us 15 minutes to do whatever we want. Check our texts, go to the washroom, get the snacks ready, all that stuff. At least Andrade versus Rodriguez had that risk factor. This fight, being the equivalent to that, does not have any risk. This is going the full 15, and you already know it. Now, Jalen Turner fought Moicano, a long, lanky Brazilian. And who's another long, lanky Brazilian in the UFC lightweight division that, Turner hasn't fought? Maurizio Ruffi. He's got the same amount of tats as Moicano. He's decent on the mic. And, yeah, I mean, style-wise, Moicano and Ruffi couldn't be farther apart. The striker being Ruffi and the grappler being Moicano. But, hey, Turner at least has a bit of an advantage there. And even if he drops Ruffi, hopefully he doesn't do a dumbass walk-off and fumble the win. But at least Moicano won, so fair play there for Turner on fumbling the bag. So Ruffi versus Turner as the early prelim, headliner of this monumental Apex card. So, I'm doing them a favor. The UFC be booking Mullins versus Rendon. I'm fucking putting Turner versus Ruffi on my Apex 100 card. Now, sorry, I couldn't get, again, just like Mullins versus Rendon, I can't get around this or make this fight any better. I mean, it's like Sadiq Youssef versus Diego Lopez. This is your equivalent. This is your equivalent in Malik versus Todorovic, who has been out since, the Edwards Usman 3 card, I believe, which was in March of 23, a year and a half ago. insane. So yeah, and he's coming back against Malik. Good for him. Yeah, Trayshawn Gore versus Tricoli. This is I guess another classic UFC fight. Trayshawn Gore. I mean, losing to Cody Brundage with a one-shot knockout has to be probably the most embarrassing thing that can happen to you. But hey, he's fighting Tricoli. I mean, from what I've talked to with, my fellow matchmakers, people are saying this is like they're saying it's better than Sterling versus Cater. Might be it. All jokes aside, it might be more entertaining. At least see there being a finish, at least in the third round. Or maybe Tricoli gasses out and it'll be a funny visual to look at. But hey, it is what it is. Now, Pinheiro versus Robertson. Again, another UFC specialty they did in booking this fight. I mean, Pinheiro, I guess, lost like Holly Holm did, or coming off a loss like Holly Holm did. Robertson resembling Kayla Harrison, being the grappler she is. Sick. I mean, Robertson will dominate her on the ground and choke her out. Or decision her. I mean, it's not a fight prediction. It's going to go the same way as Holm versus Harrison, but, none of them are going to be near as husky as Kayla Harrison in that, small-ass octagon that the Apex offers. Now, the prelim headliner. We had, for UFC 300, we had Prohaska versus Rakic, throwing haymakers, lethal leg kicks, all the stuff, doing the man dance. And what better to match that with the equivalent up a weight class, because a bunch of the light heavyweights are right now booked. So I said, let's go to the big boys. Let's one up Rakic versus Yuri. And you do it with two Apex icons, two studs, and Sergey Spivak versus Rosenstrike, both coming off monumental wins against Tybura and Tai Tuivasa, two of the modern day Mark Hunt, they call Tai Tuivasa. And Marcin Tybura beat the fucking world record for eating, 10 hamburgers as quick as possible a couple weeks ago, right before his main event. And Spivak beat him. He beat him, and he did it with an armbar. Slick as hell. They're going to be bringing in the numbers for the main card as the prelim headliner. Absolute barn burner. Even though they're ranked in the top 10, put him on the early prelim. Not the early prelim. The prelim headliner of such a card. My golly, is that not and if you don't know now, you know type of fight. If you know what I'm saying. Now, to open up the pay-per-view of the Apex card. It's not a pay-per-view, but hey, we could charge like $10-15 rather than 80 for an Apex card. It could happen, but hey, you gotta have Cody Brundage opening up this card. I mean, this guy the card would fall apart if Cody Brundage was not there. And why not run it back with Bo Nickel, or should I say Bo Nickel's doppelganger, Joe Pyfer? I mean, talking smack, saying he could beat Duplessis and Adesanya with Sean Brady on his podcast. You gotta beat Cody Brundage to even get yourself in talks with that. And you want, you want Paul Craig, Joe Pyfer? That's GM3's business. You leave GM3 alone. GM3 and Paul Craig are running it in Tampa. I guarantee it. You, my friend, Body Bags Pyfer, are going to be fighting the stud of studs in Cody Garbrandt. Not Cody Garbrandt. Fuck. Cody Brundage. Shit, that was going so well. But hey, it is what it is. They're going to fight either way. Brenner versus Sadikov. I mean, this one, what is it? Oliveira doppelganger, kind of. He's having the same storyline. He's losing already after 3 fights, 2 losses. Maybe this one will go to a no contest, because that's what happened to Oliveira. I mean, Sadikov, I guess, is a similar name to Sarukian. Not from Armenia like Sarukian, but he holds or has a flag on his right beside his name on Tapology that, is from that region. So let's say this is the equivalent to Oliveira Sarukian. Could go to a split decision, just like that fight did, or could be a no contest, and Brenner truly does have his Oliveira story. So now our BMF fight, our BMF Apex fight. Two Americans who like to scrap it out. And this is a 5-rounder, by the way. All three of the next fights are. All 5-rounders. Two Americans who like to scrap it out, duke it out, high volume. You cannot pick any other fighters than Drew Dober versus Jared Gordon. Drew Dober absolutely slinging haymakers. I mean, what is it? Throwing wild ass shit at John Silva whilst getting spinning elbow. Jared Gordon finding ways to get robbed from victory every single time he steps into that octagon. 5 rounds of you can't miss action in this BMF title fight. Vacant BMF title fight. Sure, Holloway has that one, but this is the real one. That's the interim BMF belt. Could you actually imagine if they did that, an interim BMF belt? That's a cool idea. Not really. It's not a cool idea. But Dober and Gordon are running for the BMF. That's the fight. These two guys wanted the fight, and if you respect them, you give them this fight. I wonder who said that all week, this week, about a certain someone. But hey, we're moving on from that. This is our 5-round BMF fight going down in the Apex. And yeah, now our co-main event, 5 rounds again. What is it? We had Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. Zhang Weili, scoot aside, you're going to be fighting in Macau against Tatiana Suarez, I believe. We're going to bring in a gal who just got an amazing knockout and got a $50K bonus on delay from Dana White. And she just fought on the Bahalia card, the Bahalia Cannoneer card. She is Wang Kong. And she's going to be fighting Yan Xiaonan, the second ever all-Chinese female bout. Dana White can brag about hosting an event at the Sphere all he wants. No other promoter is booking Xiaonan versus Kong. I can guarantee you that with everything. Xiaonan versus Kong is Dana's biggest achievement. Probably ever. Bigger than all of 300. Building 300 was not a problem compared to booking Xiaonan versus Kong. 5 rounds. You're gonna sit through it. You're gonna fucking sit through it. I will make sure you sit through it and watch all 25 minutes of these gals throwing haymakers and potentially Kong actually clipping Xiaonan as she can. Her striking defense isn't up to par. Her striking offense is actually pretty decent, in all fairness. But that's her co-main event. Now, our main event. We had Jamal Hill, the best light heavyweight on the planet, according to himself, not according to me. According to himself. And what is it? He fought Pereira. Pereira's fighting Roundtree. It's not logical to have Pereira in the Apex. You just can't. One other person who's fought Pereira and has ties to Pereira and the light heavyweight division, if you didn't know, is a guy called Yuri Prohaska. He's going to be fighting Jamal Hill in our UFC Apex 100 main event. And may I say, even though these guys have had their best fights and most entertaining fights, I should say, be against Glover Teixeira, when they fought in the Apex, it actually got a bit scrappy. What is it? An Apex main event that is what? Jamal Hill against Thiago Santos and Yuri versus Dom Reyes. Both absolute scraps and fun ones at the least. Were amazing. Amazing fights. And this is the perfect fights to just send off the Apex into the atmosphere. No more. This Apex is only for the Contender Series, the Ultimate Fighter, Road to UFC, and that's it. And I guess, some commercials, as we saw Dustin Poirier do one a few weeks earlier. That's it. That's it. And for fighters to like pose and stuff and do weigh-ins. Whatever. That's it. This is the perfect fight to send off the empty Apex in. I mean, yeah, that's my card. UFC Apex 100. There you go. That's your poster, by the way. That's your poster. I chose not to put in some of the, veterans of the Apex, like Strickland, Angela Hill. Those kind of fighters. That's too easy. I wanted to do a 300 themed as well, because that, the UFC said, and 300 is that these are our standards for a great card. And being the company man that I am, I followed those standards. I did not choose to give you Ladd versus Dumont. I gave you Prohaska versus Hill. Hope you enjoyed. Comment if you got any other different fight recommendations for this monumental card. And yeah, those were, I guess, my made-up fights. And yeah, peace.